Stupid mistakes after the age of 60 that old people sometimes make. Mistakes to avoid. Stupid mistakes old people make over the age of 60. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well, I'm not going to say that I'm an expert on stupid mistakes, but I have seen a lot of stupid mistakes made by people over the age of 60. And being that I'm over the age of 60, I'm very cognizant about making right decisions. Now, there is not a one-size-fits-all for everyone. So, for example, what might be right for one person may not be right for another. I don't give advice, I don't give suggestions, I just share with you my viewpoints on different things. And so perhaps I'll share a viewpoint that may or may not be right for you. You get to determine that yourself. So these are my viewpoints. You know, a lot of people past the age of 60 make some stupid mistakes. We think that wisdom comes with being older, and it should and often does. And I believe in listening to older people because often older people have made enough mistakes or seen enough mistakes that they can help us navigate past possible mistakes in our future so we don't have to make them, so we can avoid mistakes. And so I got to thinking about some of the mistakes that people make past the age of 60. You know, I've seen people past the age of 60 throw away their marriages. Some of them have been married a very, very long time, but they decide that there's something better out there or they can do better in some way. And sometimes they can, but I think most often it's not so. I think most often, actually everyone that I've personally known to any degree that has thrown away a marriage or dissolved a marriage after the age of 60, a long-term marriage we're talking about, has regretted it. Because usually people have so much history behind them that it's so much easier to work on that marriage and somehow find a way to correct it or adapt to it or work with it. Now, I'm not talking about situations that are bad and unhealthy. I'm not talking about that. That can be very, very different situation. But I'm talking about people who've been married a long time and they're just kind of bored and they don't know what they want. Maybe they've kind of grown apart. Well, it's up to you to grow back together again rather than throw away that marriage. I've seen so many say, well, we've grown apart. We're very different people. Well, we're all very different people and it's up to us to grow together. You know, when we first meet someone, we may be very different people, but we choose to grow together. We choose to find common bonds. And so I think that's one of the big mistakes because a lot of people have to get back out there. They've dissolved their finances together. Now a lot of times they have to struggle. They have to get back out there, go to work in their 60s or well beyond just to survive. And sometimes it can be a really not good thing. So for me personally, I think that's one of the big mistakes that people make past the age of 60. Often they think that they're going to find that perfect person now after many years of marriage. So they're going to go out there and start looking again. And maybe they have an affair after the age of 60 and they ruin what they had. You know, they kind of want to recapture their youth again. And I think that's another big mistake. Often, you know, if we find somebody past the age of 60 who's within our age group, they're going to have issues, and they're going to have a history. No matter how good that history is, they're going to have attachments and history to them, and that can complicate any kind of relationship that we go into. And everything that we built together with that other person for those many years is probably, we're not going to have that many years ahead of us to build the way we did in the past. That's just my viewpoint on people who throw away their marriages after the age of 60. Another big pitfall, I think, for people, older people, is that they sometimes will take everything that they've earned, everything that they worked for, and invest it in some kind of faulty investment, or an investment that goes bad. And I believe that as we get older, we have less time to rebound. So we have to be far more careful in our choices financially than we would have to be if we were younger, much younger, because often when you're younger, you can rebound, you have that time. But when you're older, you don't want to get back out there and have to take jobs that you don't want. I remember this one couple, and I've told this story before. They lived in Palm Springs, and they had a gorgeous, gorgeous home on the golf course, and they were living a wonderful life. And then some builder came through town and offered them this, this opportunity to make a lot more money than what they had, and they invested all their money into this builder's scheme, and they lost it all. And in their 70s, they had to go back out there and go to work for minimum wage. It was sad to see at a time that they should be golfing and enjoying their, what they've worked hard for. Now they've lost everything. So I see that's another mistake that older people make, is they make the wrong financial decisions, and then they have a lot of problems. And I think sometimes too that, some people downsize, and that works well for them. But for me, it does not work. I don't want to downsize. I want to stay in my big house. When I was growing up, the way it worked was people kept their houses and they just shut off rooms. They just shut off rooms. And that worked for them. Or they, rented out rooms or whatever. And so I understand people who want to downsize, but that's not me. I love my home. And I think a lot of times people will live someplace for 40, 50, 60 years, and then they decide that they want to move across country where their kids are. And I'm not saying that in all circumstances that's not the right decision. Maybe it's a have-to decision. Maybe it's a decision where one has to go and do that. And I understand that. And maybe it is the right decision for them. But I often see people who uproot themselves, going to a strange place, now become totally dependent upon their adult children because they don't know the area, and maybe they're too old to feel that they can adapt to the new area. So now they become the child to their parent, or to their children. They become their own children's child in a sense. And then their children decide to up and move again, and they either have to move or they're stuck where they don't feel like they belong or identify with. So I think that can be another mistake that older people make. Now, should some older people move? Of course. My mother had to move with us because she took too sick and she couldn't live on her own, and there was no one to take care of her where she was. So she had to come with us. I often say my retirement home will be a motor home. That way I can pull up in my kids' driveway wherever they're at, or they can drive it for me, and I have my own place, my own home, and yet, I can be nearby wherever they're at. That may not work for everyone, but I think it would work for me. And so I think that there are mistakes. I think financial, relationship, thinking that there's all these opportunities out there. And I think we have to just be so much more careful in our choices and our decisions the older that we get. I also think health issues can be a major factor as we grow older. So it's very, very important to have good health care and to have good doctors and to have an advocate. Often when we are our own advocate and we are in a vulnerable position, we can't do the best for ourselves, no matter how great of an advocate we would be for others. Often we need someone else that can advocate for us, but it's got to be the right person, somebody that we trust and that we know makes great decisions. So those are some of the mistakes, I think, that are problems that older people face, especially over the age of 60. And I thought I would come on here and share those with with you. I'm not saying one size fits all. I'm not saying that one thing works for everybody. We're all different. So what might work for you may not work for me. But as a general rule, in my mind, these are kind of some of the issues that I see that older people can face. And will some of these things work out for some people? Of course it will. You know, some people have found love after 60. Some people have made great business adventures after 60. Of course it can happen and it can go in the right direction, but often it doesn't. So I think we have to be very, very mindful and realistic of our decisions. From my house to yours, may God bless you. I hope you like, share, subscribe, shout out my channel to your friends. And so from Grandma's porch and from my 5-mile run that I just did on this chilly, beautiful day, I will talk to you all soon again. Bye-bye.